My name is Carlotta Garza, and this is my personal philosophy of communication presentation. When I thought about taking a communications class, I had a few questions coming into the class, specifically one that focused outward and one that focused inward. My questions were, how can I improve my relationships with parents and the outside community, so an outward focus? And my second question was, how can I effectively navigate communication among my peers at school, so coworkers and support staff and administrators specifically? So, what stood out to me the most throughout the course of our readings and our learning was I really enjoyed the Parker Palmer description of communities of trust and communities of truth. And I wanted to be able to create multiple communities of trust and truth in my classroom and at school. And what stood out to me was Sir Giovanni's description of human skills, which is basically the ability to communicate effectively one-on-one, face-to-face with different kinds of people. And in order to have human skills, this requires self-understanding, self-acceptance, empathy, and consideration for others. So I really liked that because I felt like it really gave a name to some soft skills that go into creating communities. I also enjoyed the reading that mentioned appreciating the support staff because I feel like when we think about communication and public relations, we think about the stakeholders, think about the parents, we think about the media and news, and we don't always think about the people that actually work inside our building who are not necessarily teachers or administrators. And the last source of information that I drew from was my academy principal interview, my informational interview with my direct superior, from which I took a couple of specific points. The points that I took away from that were to always say thank you, because people are not recognized often enough, and saying thank you goes a long way, to be kind, and to show up. So with these three sources, human skills, appreciating support staff, and my academy principal interview tips, I created my own personal philosophy of communication. I created 4 guidelines to frame any and all communication. Oh, come back. We'll try again. Four guidelines to frame any and all communication. The first guideline is to be kind. Being kind is a choice, and sometimes it's a hard choice. But in the best case scenario, if you are kind to someone else, hopefully they'll recognize that you are being kind and they will be kind back to you. In the worst case scenario, if you are kind to someone, they might continue to be rude and you will look really smart and they will look silly because they are not being very kind. The second guideline is to always give. I'm not really talking about giving tangible things. I'm talking about being generous with your time and with your attention. Generous with listening. I found that when I am willing to listen and learn and talk and spend time with other people, they are more likely to be willing to meet me halfway. The third one is to show up. I've noticed that people put a lot more stock in actions than they do in words. And maybe it doesn't seem like communicating comes through actions, but I think that it does. It's very difficult sometimes to dig into my personal time and give my time by going to my students' basketball games or meeting a parent at their workplace because they can't make it to a parent-teacher night. But if I show up for them, the hope is that they'll show up for me. And the last one is to work hard. I'm convinced that any problem can be solved with a combination of perseverance and creativity. As long as you're willing to try and try again, no matter what, I'm convinced that any life can be changed. And that's what I'm here to do. So with my 4 guidelines in mind, I made 2 commitments. My first commitment was an outward focus, and my second commitment was an inward focus. The first one was to find an accessible way to communicate with parents and students outside of class. To do this, I am going to introduce Class Dojo, which is an online app that you can use on a phone, iPad, or computer that tracks student behavior, but it also creates a virtual platform where you can directly contact parents and you can post photos, you can post videos of their kids in class. And the best part about it is that it sends the communications directly to their phones. So if necessary, they can go ahead and type that into a translating app so it's more accessible to them. And if that is not successful, then I'll think about creating a classroom Instagram. I teach in Portable 8, so I would probably call it Portal Ocho. My second goal is an inward focus that focuses on the community of the actual school. And that's to find a way to show appreciation to support staff and administrators. Like I said earlier, people aren't thanked or recognized often enough, and I think that writing an appreciative note or giving a small gift would go a long way. And with that, I have my references page. I took from 3 main sources, the textbook, the Parker Palmer book, The Courage to Teach, and the Sir Giovanni article that's mentioned in the textbook that I explored a little bit further. I also drew from my personal experiences and my informational interview with my principal. And that concludes my presentation. Thanks so much.